Deep in the heart of the enchanted forest, where the flowers bloomed with shimmering petals and the rivers sang gentle lullabies, ruled the graceful and wise fairy queen, Elise. Her golden wings sparkled like the morning sun, and her presence alone could command the respect of every magical creature that resided in her kingdom. Elise had ruled for centuries, her heart devoted only to the prosperity of her realm, ensuring that peace and harmony thrived among fairies, fireflies, and all the woodland beings. But fate had something unexpected in store for her. One fateful evening, as she flew over the forest, she noticed a strange disturbance near the roots of the oldest oak tree. The ground trembled slightly, as if something beneath was alive and moving with great force. Curiosity sparked within her, and she decided to investigate. She followed the source of the vibrations, fluttering closer to the forest floor, where she saw something astonishing. A hidden passage led deep underground, into a world she had never known existed. Intrigued, Elise descended cautiously, her wings glowing softly to illuminate the darkness. As she ventured deeper, she found herself in a vast underground empire unlike anything she had ever seen before. Towering tunnels carved with intricate precision led to chambers filled with glowing fungi, illuminating a bustling world of tiny, disciplined creatures. She had stumbled upon the kingdom of the ants. At the heart of this underground world sat a throne, much smaller than any she had ever seen, yet grand in its own way. And upon this throne sat the Ant King. He was no ordinary ant, his exoskeleton gleamed like polished obsidian, and his eyes, though small, held the wisdom of ages. He watched her with a mixture of curiosity and caution, aware that a being as magnificent as the fairy queen had never graced his kingdom before. Elise, despite being much larger than the Ant King and his subjects, bowed her head respectfully. She had always believed in treating all creatures with kindness, no matter their size. The Ant King, named Zyros, stood tall upon his throne, his antennae twitching as he studied the queen before him. "To what do I owe the honor of your visit, Queen Elise?" he asked in a voice that was both commanding and regal, despite his tiny stature. Elise smiled warmly. "I had no idea such a magnificent kingdom existed beneath my own. I am in awe of what you and your people have built, King Zyros." The Ant King, though proud, was surprised by her words. Most creatures overlook the ants, seeing them as mere insects, unworthy of notice. But here was the fairy queen herself, speaking to him as an equal. She spent the entire night learning about the ways of the ant kingdom. She observed how the ants worked tirelessly, moving in perfect synchronization, each one playing a vital role in the survival of their society. She listened as Zyros spoke of the challenges his kingdom faced, harsh rains that flooded their tunnels, battles with rival colonies, and the constant struggle to maintain order. In turn, Elise shared stories of her fairy realm, of the enchantments that kept the forest alive and the magic that flowed through the trees. Zyros was fascinated, for he had always believed in logic and strategy, yet here was a queen whose world thrived on mystery and wonder. What started as a mere chance meeting soon blossomed into an unbreakable bond. Elise found herself drawn to the Ant King's mind, his ability to strategize, to lead his people with wisdom and discipline. And Zyros, though small in size, was captivated by Elise's ethereal beauty and her heart that saw beyond differences. As the days turned into weeks, Elise and Zyros met in secret, learning from one another, growing closer in ways neither had expected, but as their friendship deepened, an unseen danger crept upon both their realms. A monstrous creature, larger than any beast in the forest, had made its way toward the fairy kingdom and the ant colony. It was a nightmarish centipede, its body spanning the length of an entire tree, its venomous fangs dripping with poison. It was known as the burrowing horror, a creature of destruction that devoured everything in its path, leaving entire lands in ruin. Elise, hearing the desperate cries of her fairies as they spotted the beast slithering closer, knew she had to act. She flew at once to warn the Ant King, but to her horror, she discovered that the centipede had already begun tunneling toward the ant kingdom. Zyros, though fearless, knew that his soldiers alone could not defeat such a monstrous enemy. His people were strong, but they were small, and no force of numbers could stand against the beast's venomous bite. "We must work together," Elise declared. "My magic, your strategy, our kingdoms depend on it." The Ant King nodded. "Then we shall fight side by side." The ants, under Zyros's command, prepared an elaborate trap deep within their tunnels. They dug carefully, creating false chambers and tunnels designed to lead the centipede into a dead end. Meanwhile, Elise and her fairy warriors enchanted the ground with spells, making the tunnels appear wider than they were, tricking the centipede into charging forward recklessly. The battle began as the centipede stormed into the tunnels, its massive body crushing everything in its path. The ant soldiers swarmed it, biting and distracting it while leading it toward the trap. Meanwhile, Elise used her magic to send bursts of blinding light, forcing the creature into confusion. Finally, as it reached the deepest part of the tunnel, the ground beneath it collapsed, just as Zyros had planned. The centipede was buried beneath tons of rock and earth, unable to escape. With one final spell from Elise, the tunnel was sealed shut forever. The battle was won. As the dust settled, Elise and Zyros stood side by side, watching as their people cheered in victory. They had saved both their kingdoms, but more importantly, they had proven that two worlds, so different, could unite as one. In the aftermath of the battle, something had changed between Elise and Zyros. Their respect for one another had grown into something deeper, something neither of them had ever dared to consider. Elise, despite being a queen of magic and air, found herself longing for the company of the wise and fearless Ant King. And Zyros, though bound to his underground world, felt a connection to Elise that went beyond mere admiration. But could a fairy and an ant truly be together? Many doubted their union. Some fairies whispered that a queen should never love a creature so small, while some ants believed their king should not be enchanted by the ways of magic. Yet, in the end, love was not measured by size or species, it was measured by the heart. And so, defying all odds, the fairy queen and the ant king stood together, ruling their separate kingdoms in harmony, but forever bound by a love that had conquered fear, defied nature, and proven that true strength lies not in size, but in courage and the willingness to see beyond the ordinary. And so, the legend of Elise and Zyros lived on, whispered in the wind and carried through the roots of the earth, a love story unlike any other.